Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I am Jacqueline Whitmore, and I am the founder and director of the Protocol School of Palm Beach. And today is the day that I am going to have my Facebook Live, my first Facebook Live interview with another etiquette expert. Now, I have interviewed etiquette experts in the past on other types of subjects, and today is the first time I'm going to be interviewing an etiquette expert about her journey to becoming an etiquette expert, because many people have no clue what I do. When I say I'm an etiquette expert or an etiquette consultant, people look at me like deer in headlights. They have no idea what I do. So oftentimes people think that I only teach children, or I only teach uh, table manners. And nothing could be farther from the truth. So my guest, who is going to be coming in today in a couple of minutes, is going to dispel the myths of etiquette consulting. And I believe she's here in the room with us. So I'm going to bring her in just a minute. Okay. And here she comes. Hi.
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 Good afternoon.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. I wish I were where you are right now with that fabulous sunshine and gorgeous light. But we're here in New York, but still doing really well.
Well, and something is exciting happening in New York. You all are going through phase 2 of your reopening, right?
Uh, Honestly, it is like you've never seen the energy out in this city. There's yesterday just walking around the neighborhood, all the restaurants have moved the tables outside and everyone's out and everyone still has masks on, but it's just like a bolt of energy has come through the city that is so needed right now.
I bet you can't wait to get your nails done.
You literally have no idea. We're waiting quite patiently for the rest of New York to open, but that is, I can only imagine on the day these salons open, it's going to be good business.
I imagine so. Well, I was just telling all of our viewers who will be slowly trickling in, and by the way, this is going to be recorded for people who can't attend live, but I was telling everybody about how when you and I tell people what we do, people look at us like deer in headlights, like, well, what is that exactly? Do you teach children? Will you teach my children?
It's so true. They just associate dining, usually dining, or or us like nanny, like Mary Poppins, sort of, which
Absolutely.
a small part of what we do. It's true, but you're right. A lot of people just don't quite understand. I get the same questions.
Well, when someone asks you what you do, what do you tell them?
I usually just say that I teach dining manners, I teach social manners and business manners, and I'll say to everyone from small children all the way up to executives and CEOs and kind of everyone in between, and that usually starts the questions a little bit more. But sometimes they say like you teach everyone how to use silverware. I'm like, yes, part of it, but way more. And I think in my courses, the thing that I like to kind of tell people is that etiquette is, as you and I know, it's so much more than just which fork and knife, and it's all about social intelligence. And at the end of the day, it's how to interact with people, how to show compassion for people. And it's a life skill set. And then they start asking more questions, but that's usually how I start explaining what we do.
And as you say in one of your books, you can have impeccable manners, but if you come into a room and you ignore the people around you, that defeats the whole entire purpose, because manners is putting others first, correct?
That's exact. I mean, it's exactly right. It's kind of, and it's one of those things where, especially now with everything going on in this world, it couldn't be more important. So it's, I think you probably get the same where people say, "Oh, do you really need manners? Or do you really need etiquette anymore? Or isn't that old fashioned?" Or things like that. But I think, arguably, it's more important than ever because society is changing so much and evolving that you and I, are the ones that are kind of socially responsible for helping kind of pave the way and help people understand what to do moving forward. So I don't know about you, but I always feel quite a bit of social responsibility when, for those things, because there are no rules for some things that we're experiencing. So it's like paving the way sometimes.
Absolutely. And especially during this pandemic, when you and I were both getting a lot of calls from the media, and they were asking us things like, well, what do we do in place of handshaking? And what do we do during happy hour etiquette? Well, we've never had to deal with this before. It's not in any of the historic etiquette books. So I'm like, well, we just make it up.
Yeah. Well, do you know, I'm literally laughing. I'm with you because I had a friend recently that he said, "I saw you did something on Zoom etiquette, but you had to have just made all that up, right?" And I said, "Well," and he's like, "Do you just make things up?" I was like, "Well, no, yes and no, because if it hasn't happened before, it's up to us to do that. But we take, our lessons and our education to help create the new normal or the new way to show respect." So yes and no, but it's a pretty fun job to be able to do that, I think.
It is, and it's a lot of common sense, and I think etiquette is all about common sense anyway, but common sense isn't so common anymore.
True.
Anyway, all right, so it's not about me today, it's really all about you, and I want to tell our viewers that I really just met you through social media. I mean, we all know who exists out there and who's teaching etiquette, but really, oftentimes the etiquette consultants, we don't have time to interact with one another because it's unlike any other industry. We really don't have an association per se to go to meet one another once a year. And
Right.
so it's so great to have these chats. But tell everybody about your background, because I think it's quite interesting. Like me, you didn't grow up attending cotillions and tea parties in private schools, right?
No, I did not. So I grew up like you. We have so much in common. Just in a really middle class background that, we didn't grow up with, putting emphasis on material anything. We didn't grow up with real silver and teacups and saucers from the finest china. None of that I had growing up. But what I did have was, were two parents that were just the sweetest, most loving, and structure. They gave me structure. They were, my dad's quite formal. My mom is just super loving. And my dad would say, you go up and you knock on that door and you say, "Mr. This or Mr. Divine, may I please speak to Carrie? Say, or can Carrie come out to play?" From the tiny, tiny age, that's what my family kind of drilled into me, and that you would never call an adult by their first name unless they asked you to. So tiny little things like that. And we did sit at the table together. It was usually with, very simple, a fork and a knife and not much more. And I was, I write in my first book that I probably had orange sap in my hair because I was a little tomboy. I was running, and I have two brothers, and climbing trees. And so I didn't grow up with any of the kind of, so I didn't grow up with a silver spoon. And a lot of people, I think that about us, that you have to have that background to teach etiquette. But actually, I feel like we have the same experience in the way that we know it's not just for fancy occasions, it's for every day. And so I only started my training as an adult when I moved to London from New York, We're both Gators, go Gators.
Okay.
And and then I moved to New York and then London. And it was only in London when I realized in business how much I didn't know. And I was so insecure. That was the first etiquette course I ever took. It was out of insecurity, realizing I was with literally these CEOs of some of the biggest companies in the world. And here I was entertaining and hosting them, and I had no idea what was in front of me. I had no idea how to eat with that little instrument over to the side. And I didn't like that feeling. I didn't like feeling ignorant about, anything really. So that was my first etiquette course in London. And then I kind of started teaching all of my friends at the American expat. Their community is huge. And then we start having all these dinner parties. And I remember cleaning up sequins, vacuuming sequins before I went to work the next morning because people started dressing up for the parties. And we would sit down around the table and I would teach all my American friends. And then eventually I started taking off so much holiday that I thought, wait a second, I think I can do this on my own. I think I can make this my business. And I started teaching in London and then brought it over to New York when we moved back a few years later. So that's how I kind of evolved. But it was, it was quite the journey, but one that stemmed from insecurity.
Well, I want to say that I feel that you and I both have what I call a leg up in the industry, in that we were raised during humble beginnings, because that makes us more empathetic to people just like us who we are teaching every day. Because oftentimes when people come to our classes, they feel very intimidated. They feel a little insecure, and that's absolutely natural. But when we tell them about our background, then they feel like, well, if she can do it, maybe I can do it as well. And I had a mentor years ago, many, many years ago, who told me, don't ever tell anybody about your background. She said, I want people to think that you were raised in a certain lifestyle, in a certain environment. And that advice was so counterproductive to what was really resonating in my heart. And I feel that it's really important for us to be honest and tell people about these things, because it makes us more relatable. Because if you just follow somebody on social media, that's why I call it fake book, because we post the things that people want to see, that we think we want people to see and how we want to be portrayed. But when we're honest with people, they're like, wow, I can do this too.
So I couldn't agree with you more. And I feel like, it's about being kind and respectful, and not about being fancy or only being the 1% of the world. It's just not that. And I feel like what you did when you reached out to me when I came out with my second book, I just thought that was the perfect example of etiquette. You, an industry colleague, you reaching out and saying, Myka, I want to feature you. I want to talk about your new book. I just felt like that's exactly that's like the nicest thing. It just meant so much. Thank you. And that's what etiquette is about.
Thank you. Well, I feel like, especially in our industry, we have to stick together, because there is so much competition out there, that if we don't support one another, then it just defeats the whole purpose of etiquette. And so I also, being an author, know how important it is for to get that book out there. And so if you've got a person who already has an audience that you're looking towards, then why not help each other?
Well, thank you.
And speaking of your book, I'm going to show it here in our stream. Okay. This book came out in May, correct?
Yes, this came out in the middle of. This came out in the middle of COVID. May 5th was its launch date, and it was, it was something that I wanted it to be I wanted to kind of break the glass ceiling of business etiquette in the way that, it was gender neutral. It is gender neutral. It's about women and men in business. It's all genders in business. And it's kind of the next, I do include, online etiquette, Zoom etiquette by chance. And it was something that I just wanted to make. I wanted to, after Me Too, especially, I wanted to create something that really just said, this is for everyone. And it's empowering for everyone. And, one of the things that I put in it is, years ago, etiquette books from, decades ago would say that the female was always introduced first, or the female would stay seated and the man at the business table, the conference table would rise, and things like that, that in a lot of my collection of books, I just kind of felt like at the time it might have been the way, but not anymore. So I wanted it to be empowering for all and kind of just tell people that, now in modern etiquette, the rules are a bit different, and it has nothing to do with your gender and more your status or your position in the company, and just kind of a voice for everyone that I maybe wish I had when I was younger, or things like that. So I'm really excited about this book, and I have, I do say in things like, don't say ladies first anymore. If you're hosting clients, just please after you. You don't need to point out gender. Even if somebody says that to you, though, it's meant as respect. So just little things like that I think are the future for etiquette, that I kind of incorporated.
Absolutely. And you also address honorifics. And one of the honorifics that you write about that I didn't write about in my books because mine are old.
Well, no, yours are amazing. I have one of your books, and I just think everything you have written is for decades will be relevant. Your book is very relevant, even today, even if you didn't have, certain honorifics in it. I think it's still, everything in there was amazing.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And so, but you also have another book, which I don't have a picture of that one, but that came out in January of this year. Now, how does that happen? 2 books in 1 year. I don't even think Stephen King can do that.
So it happened. So last year I'd actually written one huge book, and the publisher said, okay, as I'd never written a book before, and I kind of turned in what I had so far, and the publisher said, okay, this is great, but this is way more information than we planned. So we talked about splitting it into 2. So then I changed strategy, and I only worked on the first book. And then essentially I was finished with Modern Etiquette Made Easy, my first book, in summer of last year, of 2019. And then they said, okay, if you still want to make this second book, I said, yeah, so in about a year, we'll do the business one. And they said, no, our sales team wants it for next year as well. So what I had to do is bring in my business partner, Anne, and she literally helped me. I mean, I couldn't give her enough credit. I wrote everything, and she literally structured it and restructured it and said, this doesn't make sense, you need to add more. But she helped me piece the book together, because we had to do it in under 2 months. The whole book had to be done in order for me to get the second book out. So I needed the help. And I'm always, when you need help, raise your hand. I'm a big believer in that. So I don't even know how it happened. But with really good people around you, you can make it work.
Absolutely. And you're a wife and you're a mom. I think your little girl is what, 3?
Yeah, she's 3. And it's funny because people always say, she must be so well behaved. She is just, and I tell you what, she is sassy as ever.
Oh, really? Well, I was a sassy little girl too. So don't worry, she'll turn out okay.
That gives me a lot of hope. She's very challenging. She said, why, mama? Why? And I said, well, this is how we eat, this is how we eat your yogurt. Why? Well, because it's not nice when you open your mouth. Why? And so I spend I spend a lot of time with her, but at the same time, if she's eating something with her fingers still, I'm not concerned, because for me right now, it's my dream is just that she's the nice girl. I just want her to be the little nice girl on the playground, in school, sharing, teaching her compassion right now. That is the most important thing. The fork and the knife is going to happen eventually, but for me, I'm much less concerned about that, and I'm more concerned about, did you share? Did you say thank you? How would that feel? How do you think that felt if you said she's not your best friend? That's where we are right now. She's not my best friend, mommy. Well, how do you think that feels? That, that hurts her feelings. That's why we don't say that. So that was the discussion we had yesterday. So that's what we focus on now. But it's quite entertaining, I think, to see me as a mom at home, because you probably think I'm very formal, but I'm really not.
Well, I'm a dog mom, so but my dogs, I have to say, are very well behaved. I can't imagine what it would be like trying to raise a child, but I'm sure you're doing an amazing job, and she's adorable.
Thank you. Thank you. She is a handful and a half, but she keeps me on my toes. And I can say that is the wonderful part. That's the silver lining about this pandemic, is that I've gotten to spend so much time with her, and I feel I have the worst mom guilt when I'm traveling. And I had this whole book tour plan, and I was going to be traveling mostly without her, and I was already just heartbroken just thinking about it, and I feel the worst mom guilt. So that was, for me, that was such a highlight and a silver lining during this time, that I have that time with her to bake cookies and have breakfast every day with her. So I feel like it's always important to look for those positives.
Absolutely. And while we have a few minutes left, I do want to talk about the challenges of being an entrepreneur, because you and I both know that it takes many years to become an overnight success. And we're still working on it. We're still learning every single day. And that's the beauty of our industry. We learn as much from our students as they learn from us. And I wanted to ask you what some of the challenges you faced in building your business.
Yes. So I'm a huge supporter of other entrepreneurs wherever I can loan help, especially women in business. I think for me, the biggest issue was learning how to pivot, and learning how to pivot fast. And if something's not working, if I launch something and nobody's, buying this class or whatever it is, or then what is it about it that, and recognizing that, and then learning to adjust and readjust until you do see interest, or maybe if you don't, understanding when to, shelf that and start something else. I think finance would be probably my number one, outside of learning to, strategy, would be finance, and learning how to manage a company and payroll, and it's just my mind to this day, it's probably one of my biggest challenges, is to understand finance. It's not something that I grew up learning. Even in college, it wasn't a big focus for me. So that is my biggest thing, is making a profitable business. So I have a new mentor that I've just started working with on that, because at the end of the day, yes, we love what we do, but it's important to make something profitable if that's your livelihood. So understanding where you can cut costs, where you can, do I really need New York City rent, or can I maybe do with something else, or, just little strategic things financially is where I wish I had more guidance. And so now I've taken it upon myself to seek it, because I clearly need it.
Absolutely. You can't do it all by yourself. And so you and I are used to creating, we're used to teaching. That's our strong suit.
Yeah.
But put finances in front of us. Oh my gosh, you mean I have to do my taxes this quarter?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. My husband always says, he always teases, he's like, if it was up to you, you would just teach for free all day, every day, which is true. I really would. I would just volunteer. I would teach. A big volunteer in underprivileged communities, and especially for children here in Manhattan. if I could, I just all day, that's what I would do. So he was like, you have to focus on some things that can help your business grow. So yes, I'm more of a creative. I'm not a numbers person. I actually believe if I were to be tested today, I'd probably have a learning disability. Growing up, I was always had private like tutors. Tutors at the school would take me to the side, and I have like a private little catch-up class. And I think nowadays I would have been diagnosed with something where I'm not a number person. I'm a creative. But that being said, I need to learn.
Well, and you can develop that over time, I'm sure. And with the help of your mentor, I'm sure you'll get a grasp on that. I do a lot of coaching for other etiquette consultants, and they always come to me with the financial part. How do you make any money in this industry? And I get calls all the time from people who want to become etiquette consultants, and they say, well, can you make any money in this industry? And I say, well, how much do you want to work? Because if you're willing to work hard, nights, weekends, whenever, absolutely you can make money, but you also have to be very strategic about it. And you have to price your programs appropriately. And really, in our industry, unlike any other industry, there's not a roadmap of what to charge. So we're all just kind of throwing spaghetti on the wall, hoping that what we quote is reasonable.
It's true. It is true. And knowing your market, what do people want to learn? What else is in the market? It's true. It's constantly, I guess, yeah, strategy. You're right. Totally.
Because what you would charge in New York City isn't necessarily what I would charge in Central Florida, because the wages are not as high here. So it's a learning experience, that's for sure. So
So
finally,
you were literally one of the. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I wanted to say that you were one of the. You're one of the, I think, examples of a business and somebody who's been in this business and paved the way for people like me. And you have done it so graciously and so successfully that it's inspiring, and people can see, and they can see how long you've had a successful business. And then I can see why people are like, okay, whatever she's doing, I'm doing. So you're a perfect mentor for that.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the compliment, but I'm at the point right now where I'm in the process of reinventing myself, because the world is moving so fast right now with social media. We all have to keep up, because if you don't keep up, you're going to be left behind. And videos are so important. And that's something that you do extremely well, I have to say. And that's probably what helps you build your fan base and your followers, is you're great at doing video. And I was a broadcasting major in college back in the 80s, and I should have been doing video 100 years ago. And I kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. But now I can't put it off any longer. So you inspire me to do more of that.
Oh, good. You really should. People love video. And that came about from my end, from me finding it really hard to take a picture and then so much copy. I'm not a copy person. So I just wanted to show really quick tips. And that's how I started doing those little videos. But also, YouTube is a great place. I just started a YouTube channel because, just like you said, keeping up and understanding. But that you are amazing on camera, and I feel like you would be doing us all a huge service by doing more video and sharing your expertise. And I think people would go bonkers. I think you need to. It would be like a gift to people, and you're great on camera, so why not?
Well, thank you. I just figured out how to download an app on my phone, which is a teleprompter, so I don't have to memorize anything.
I have the same. I have the exact same. I just did that too. They're amazing. They're really, the only thing I've learned, which maybe you've already learned this as well, the further away the teleprompter and the larger the lettering, the better. Because if you're too close, you can always tell when someone's reading lines. That was the only thing I would say. But those are amazing.
Oh, well, anyway, I want to conclude with, tell people how you came about with your company name is Beaumont Etiquette, and I'm going to show that on the screen so everybody knows how to spell that. There we go. How did you come up, and I know the answer to this because I read your book, but how did you come up with Beaumont Etiquette?
So I wanted to name my company Kensington Etiquette because I was in Kensington, London, but the name was actually already taken. So I thought, okay, what else could I do here? And a friend of mine in London had recently been in a relationship, and a man that kind of went over the top. He just kind of blew her away with something he did. He was like really courting her. So she told me about this over breakfast, and she said it was just so Beaumont. And I said, wait, what? What? And I just thought it was English. I was like, what is that word? And she's like, you can be Beaumont. Someone can be Beaumont educated. He could be Beaumont, which means elegantly over the top. So if you are Beaumont educated, if those shoes are Beaumont, you could be Beaumont. So that's how so it's basically, it's posh British slang. And yeah, so that's how it came about. And then when I started working at the Plaza Hotel, we almost dropped the name because they were like, when I first moved to New York, they said, come on board. We're not sure if Americans are going to be able to pronounce that. It's French. And so I said, let's just give it a shot. Let's do like a test and give it a shot. And we kept it. And I'm glad we did, because it makes it a little bit more different and kind of keeps my roots in London. So.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So you went from Florida girl to London girl, now to New York girl, and hey, you're Miss Cosmopolitan now.
Right? Yeah, I do miss Florida though. Please send me some sunshine and some Florida love. I'll take it any day.
Do you still have family here?
Yes, my entire family is still there. So
really?
Yeah, my parents on the West Coast, right in the Gulf of Mexico, and my brothers are up north, and my grandparents, but everyone else is still there. And I miss it. I do miss it. I miss everyone says about Floridians. I think Floridians, I'm constantly, they're like, it's such a casual culture. Do they practice etiquette? And I always say, actually, Floridians have amazing etiquette because they're so hospitable. All my Florida family and friends, when I go home, they make you feel $1 million and like a guest in their homes. The way they host, I always say Floridians are like none other because they're sweet people. They're very loving and giving and wonderful hosts. So I'm always defending Floridians. I'm like, we're not as casual. We might be casual, but we have excellent etiquette.
Well, I agree with you. Oh, Myka, it was so much fun to talk to you and to get to know you better. And I know that our viewers will love this interview. I'm going to share it with people in my newsletter. I have about 5,000 subscribers. It goes out once a month, and I'll make sure that we post this on YouTube so that if you want to share it, you're welcome to do so.
Thank you. I definitely will. And thank you so much. You're such a breath of fresh air, especially as an industry colleague. So thank you. And thank you for all you do for this industry. You're amazing. So thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you. And I want to thank all the viewers who came to say hello. And again, this will be rebroadcast for those who couldn't catch us live. And so I will be seeing you on social media.
Yay. Okay. I love cheering you on. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.